The brutes are a species that is known for absolute savagery during the Human Covenant War and beyond that. To them, everything is a target and everything is also food. Large and powerful, you would probably guess that they are also fairly unintelligent, but that assumption would be incorrect judging by their history. Let's dive into the lore and morphology of the brutes from Halo. The brute's actual race name is Jiralhanae, and if I mispronounce it, it's only because I've really never uttered that word in my entire life. At any rate, we will stick with the brutes as it's an appropriate name for them. A brute is an extremely large bipedal animal. Interestingly, much like humans, they are also mammalian, but are considered xeno-mammals as they evolved completely separate from the mammals located on Earth. In some ways, they look like large gorillas, fairly close to simian primates, but in other ways, they also appear to look like a rhinoceros or like a giant bear. To go a little more in depth of the mammalian nature for a minute, they are going to be covered in thick, shaggy fur. This fur is going to range from matted black, tan, or brown, and having some short black or brown covered beards. Their skin is very thick and gray in color. Also, their blood is going to be a reddish color with apparently some pools of blue in it. This means that they're predominantly going to breathe oxygen and have hemoglobin, much like the mammals of our planet do. Now let's talk about the most foreboding feature of the brute, its overall size. These creatures are going to tower over any person, standing anywhere from 8'6" to 9'2", or 259 centimeters to 280 centimeters. They're going to be much taller than most of the Covenant allies as well. The only species that literally stacks up with the brute are going to be the tallest elites and the megalagolo. But I mean, even then, as far as the elites are concerned, this is going to be pushing their physical range of their heights because they cannot get much larger than that. The weight of the brute is going to be pretty large in this range as well, but it is said to be anywhere from 1,100 pounds to 1,500 pounds, or 500 kilograms to 680 kilograms. Basically, this thing is going to have a couple hundred pounds on a Spartan decked out in full Mjolnir armor, which is saying something considering they themselves are altered to be heavier and they're wearing metallic armor, so it's pretty insane to me that an animal would weigh this much, or really at least a sentient animal. The strength of a brute is something that is going to boggle the mind of you or I. Going back to their homeworld of Doisak, God, I hope I pronounced that correctly, it appears to be very Earth-like and quite habitable for humans. However, you might not actually fare that well there. It has double the gravity of Earth and contains 1.3 of Earth's atmospheres. While the atmosphere isn't really going to be that much worse, it's really the gravity what's going to get you. This has left the creatures there in desperate need of muscle to be strong enough to withstand the constant strain placed on their frames by gravity. Strangely, this has also made the brutes taller, but their real strength comes from the muscle necessary to fight the gravity. I know I'm kind of running on this and with this a little bit, but it's kind of an interesting prospect. Here you have a creature that is exposed to double Earth's gravity. It is larger than a human by almost double the height. The muscle needed I can understand, but I don't really understand why it would be as tall as it is. But you know what? I would also have to assume then that maybe it gets its height from the oxygen in the atmosphere, much like how we had dinosaurs which were 13, 14, 15 stories tall. I could see if the atmosphere of Dosak, whatever, is higher than Earth's current oxygen levels, and then that would produce larger creatures, and also that oxygen would give them the ability to harbor more muscle in their body because it would be able to fuel that. But at any rate, this extra muscle means that when they land on other planets and confront humans, it is a massive weight off their shoulders. They're able to jump higher and run faster on the rings on Earth than they would be on their own planet. In fact, certain portions of the game you can see brutes picking up entire soldiers clad in armor with one arm and holding them there. The gravity presumably has done something else as well, increase the bone density to make them capable of standing upright. When a person jumps on Earth just even a couple of feet, hundreds of pounds of pressure are put on the bones, and that's with, say, like your average 180-pound person. Imagine a brute though with 1,000 pounds of weight falling from a height of 4 feet on a planet with double the amount of Earth's gravity. The bone strength would have to be immense. It also shows too, as a Spartan, you are very strong and capable of one-hitting most creatures and killing them, but punching a brute almost appears to do nothing as its bones can easily take the hit without snapping. On top of this, should one go berserk and they strike a Spartan, this could send all 1,000 pounds of Master Chief flying through the air. As we all know, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. For normal creatures, this would presumably snap the bones, having that much force pushing back attack on the body, but for a brute, punching a Spartan and sending them flying is just a normal day. With a brute, it's not just the raw strength and power you have to worry about. These creatures are very clearly carnivorous. Think of them as basically sentient Kodiak bears. Their jaws are lined with razor-sharp teeth that aren't there for just show. In combat, they will use them if a person gets too close. They will take a bite out of you as quickly as they will shoot you. But it's not just humans that they will eat. When they are carrying the Arbiter to the prophets, they remark that his flesh is seared just the way they like it. Pretty much, they will eat anyone at any time given the chance, and I imagine over the course of them being on high charity, some grunts and jackals have gone missing. Their more simian characteristics come from their hands. They have digits on each hand and also opposable thumbs, much like humans, albeit much larger hands. This gives them the ability to use weapons of both Covenant and human design. Although it is a little strange to see a brute running around with a human shotgun, as it is quite large and the shotgun in their hands is quite small, they are still deadly and effective with it. The feet of the brute only possess 2 digits or toes, making them the perfect candidate for most comfortable flip-flop wearer of all time. Also, just a little bit of side lore for you, in Contact Harvest, there is an excerpt stating that the brutes, before they reach full maturity, they release pheromones so that other brutes can know how they're feeling, and these other brutes will pick it up by smell. The scent receptors on the brute must be quite developed at this point, and I imagine also that portion of their brain, which means that just like wolves, they could also potentially hunt by smell, tracking down nearby prey. As the brute ages, however, they learn to control these pheromones and generally stop producing them altogether or stop releasing them. Now that we've covered their anatomy, let's jump into their intelligence and behavior, starting first with behavior. Ever walk up to a bear and smack it in the face? Well, welcome to the wonderful world of brutes. Everything about this creature is brutal. Perhaps that's why they are named the brutes. Their weapons are usually going to have serrated blades on them used for stabbing and slicing, and this is a very viable option for them. Since we know what kind of strength these guys are packing, a brute shot blade or even a mauler weapon bayonet could easily slice a person in half or leave wounds that nobody is going to walk away from. Their weapons appear to be kind of almost primitive as well. Much like a human weapon that fires projectiles rather than plasma, which is the Covenant standard, their weapons shoot out spikes that impale the person. This more than likely came about because on their own planet, this is what was necessary to take down a brute when they fight one another, but for something as small as humans, this is just going to be massive overkill. If you do manage to take down all members of the pack except one, you are about to have a very tough fight on your hands. When a brute's pack is killed, this will send the brute into a blind rage. It will become quadrupedal and begin racing towards the threat. Liken it to the hysterical strength that humans have, but multiply it by 100. If you are your average Marine or ODST, your armor is going to do nothing. The brute will tear you apart within seconds. If you are a Spartan, it is still a very difficult task set before you. It will rush you relentlessly, and even Mjolnir will only hold out for so long. A few hits from a brute will overpower the armor and gel layer, killing the Spartan and sending them flying several feet. During the Great Schism, brutes have been seen taking out the megalith Golo that sided with the elites, so that should probably give you a pretty good hint at how strong these things actually are. Even from afar though, the creature is going to be a danger. Your typical brute is going to prefer a large and powerful repeating weapon. Even the brute plasma rifle has been amped up to shoot much faster than the standard one, which does lead to kind of more overheating, but it's still preferred by the brutes. This predisposition to choose these types of weapons over the other ones could be because of their brutal nature and desire for damage output. Now you may look at this creature and think to yourself, it's just a big dumb animal. Well, you would be incorrect in that assumption. And if you underestimate its ability to plan and think, that would get you killed in a pretty violent manner very quickly. The Jiralhanae are actually quite intelligent, albeit warlike. On their planet, they were able to achieve spaceflight and reach tier 4 on their own abilities. However, the brute's warlike brutality came out again, and they quickly fell into war with one another in their solar system. As the Master Packs fought, the world quickly became war-torn and they lost spaceflight ability. They quickly fell back down the tier ladder until they were discovered by the Covenant and brought in, and then they became known as an adopted tier 2. The tactics used by the brute are considered to be quite cunning in some cases. They're able to pilot vehicles and ships, and they also become the main backbone of the Covenant during the Great Schism, and after that, they pretty much command both land-based and fleet encounters with great competency. In fact, in Halo Wars 2, the intelligence that can be achieved by Jiralhanae is shown by Atriox as he commands his soldiers against the humans and then subsequent subsequent flood. They also seem to have a pretty solid grip on their language skills as well. They will use more developed vocabulary than a lot of the other Covenant, only rivaled by the Prophets and the Sangheili. Just as a personal thought I had, it is interesting to see this creature as it almost reflects humanity. We are both mammals and sentient, and it is clear that the brutes were interested in reaching the stars and leaving their homeworld much like humanity is. In fact, they even faced greater challenges than us, overcoming their planet with double gravity of Earth, and they were able to still get into space, only to get there and then fill the surrounding area with war. It's a game, I know, but maybe there is something to be learned about this concerning our own future in real life trying to get out into space. It remains to be seen, but perhaps if we were maybe a little more aggressive than we are now, this could be our fate as well. So basically, moral of the story, stop being hostile to your own species. But that about does it for my high horse on that. What do you guys think of the brutes? Do you think we will actually see them in Halo Infinite, or do you think they've kind of been pushed back to their own planet at this point, because they really were only adopted tier 2? I think it would be pretty cool though to kind of see them in glorious 4K, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, why not leave a like? And if you would like to keep up with the channel, don't forget to hit that sub button. I do not plan on stopping these videos anytime soon. I would like to, of course, shout out my patrons. We've got Layla Alizarin at the scientist level. I have pronounced that name wrong for the last few weeks, but I finally cracked the case on pronunciation. Then we have G. Anderson and John Russo at the resident level. Next up, we have Adam Hartswick, Andrew Lawson, and Cameron Smith with their masters in biology. And finally, Eric Scott Geely's mailing address, A Big Fat Snake, and Natsuki Chiaki, I hope I pronounced that correctly, with their bachelors in morphological sciences. I do appreciate the support, guys. Currently, I am not monetized by YouTube, so if you would like to support the channel, I will drop a link in the description, but do not feel pressured to do so. Also, I have been getting a lot of requests to do Flood versus Necromorph, so expect that kind of in the future, as well as some Doom lore. Though Doom will, I figured it out, it'll just have to be purely biological concerning the demons. They're demons, so their lore is they were created, I think, by the devil. But alright guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see y'all in the next one.